Hey there. All right. All right. Let's see if we could. Hey there. Seeing folks coming in here. Alexa, play Jam.
Shuffling songs by The Jam on Amazon Music.
Alexa, stop. Alexa, play Jam.
The Slow Jam by Paul Hardcastle.
No,
featuring
Alexa,
Paul
play Jam. Alexa, play Jam
by Michael Jackson
There you
on
go.
Amazon Music.
Hey there. Alexa, volume 8. Hey there. All right. Hey there. Wait for some people to come in. I'm Pam Perry. All right. My little microphone. But where you from in the chat? What city? I told my brother, no, a long time when did the business. We must have everything like this. Virginia. Okay. Hey, Tasha, Virginia. Hey, Jeff. Mr. Clubhouse. Oh, I know. They changed it Clubhouse too much. I can't get on there. We're gonna jam with Tam today. You all bring your questions. This is old school music. Oh, poor people. Okay, let me keep an eye on the waiting room over here. Lord have mercy. Hey, Derek. Hey, Nadia. Hey, Jackie. Hey, Nadia. Put in the chat where you're from. What city? What state?
Hello. Hi. I'm not able to hear you.
Okay.
Ma'am.
Starting to feel okay.
Okay.
She see you?
No.
Hey, Doc Cunningham. Hey, Bill. Oh. It ain't going. All right, we'll get started. Put in where you're from. What city, state? Country. Maryland. Chrissy's from Maryland. A lot of people from DMV. Well, I don't know if Virginia, if you were after graduate from DMV. What city? Maybe that'll do a little bit better. Right. Okay. So not sure if that is actually from that DMV area. All right. Yeah, great. Right, familiar with Speakers Magazine, right? I'll give some examples of some stories from Dan. Bell, Detroit, yes. All right, that's one of my favorite songs. If I ever need to get pumped up, I always play that song, Michael Jackson. Miss him, miss him. So we are going to be talking about PR, and I can bring you all on. Hey, Jackie Showers. Hey. Okay. But the main thing I want to give you all is some tips and trends about PR. And a lot of times, um, PR is not that hard, but it is something that you have to work on all the time. It's a habit. And I'll give you like maybe one of the things, and people know who are in my Ready, Set, Go Speak program, is that I always give them homework. And if they give me an idea of the top 10 media outlets that they want, I'm telling you, what's written sometimes becomes real. And so the top 10, hey, Giselle. Giselle, you missed my dancing debut. I was just dancing to Michael Jackson Jam. Oh, there she is. She's coming from California. Jamming with Dr. Pam. You joining? And so really PR is really just a way to amplify your voice, to stand out of the crowd. I'm a publicist for many, many years. For those who aren't really familiar with me, background, short story, uh, journalism major, worked for the Detroit Free Press, did that for many years. Then I worked in radio in Detroit, did that for many years. Then I really had an epiphany one day that I was really just working in air, like just like creating commercials and writing copy and doing promotions in air. And it was like Hampton Roads. Okay, that's it. That's it. And I said, Tasha, that's good. So that's in that area. And I said, I really want to do something more meaningful with my life. I was around 30ish or so. And I went and I said, I'd like to do more volunteer work. And I went to go volunteer, and I was volunteering in my church, and I volunteered for Big Brothers Big Sisters. I was volunteering. And finally, eventually, my volunteer hours were outweighing almost my work hours, but I had so much fulfillment in it. And every time I volunteered for an organization, the area that they would put me in would be promotions, and they would put me in marketing, and they would put me in the area of like writing and promoting and just sharing the messages of their stories. And I remember saying, I really enjoy this. And then someone said to me, it's like, you do PR so much, you act like you're going to do PR for Jesus. It's like, what is that? What does PR for Jesus mean? This is public relations. And it clicked on me that public relations was really what I was doing, even though I had been working in the media itself, radio, and I actually worked with some television stations, and then in Detroit and some radio stations. And I said, well, let me investigate this PR thing. And my first PR job was working with an organization called the Joy of Jesus. How prophetic is that, right? Someone said I'm going to be doing PR for Jesus. And I worked. And I remember getting some PR for that organization, and they were raising money to send kids to camp. Reverend Eddie Edwards was the actual director of that, and he hired me. And I didn't really know per se what PR was, even though I majored in school, but it was really PR for a nonprofit is within the fundraising department. So it was really sales and telling the story to the media so that the people who read the story will give to the organization. Really easy for me to do. They were all over the place. We raised like $1 million for that nonprofit. But eventually I said, I kind of grew that position. And then Reverend Eddie said, you know what, you've outgrown this position. I was doing all the things, right? I was the newsletter editor. I was the fundraising director. I was doing oh my God, I did the PR, did the media outreach. I was recruiting, did all the jobs, right? Making zero money, but I had so much joy in it. And he said, you need to really work at a larger nonprofit. So eventually he recommended me to the Salvation Army, and I worked there as a director of the Salvation Army for about 7 years. Really enjoyed the work, uh, developing stories all the time, pitching the media, doing kettle kickoffs and all the campaigns. Again, PR was about telling stories. Been doing that now. That was in the 90s. That was when PR was different. And I used to write press releases, find the stories, write press releases, and send them out on the fax machine, fax blasting. I don't know if anybody remember fax blasting, right? That was real crazy. So yeah, so that's what we did. And it was really almost pre-computers. We did have computers, but it wasn't like it was now. There was no quote unquote like internet like it was then. But I really enjoyed it and raised millions of dollars for the Salvation Army, finding stories, human stories, basically the human interest stories at television shows. I actually had the Salvation Army on Oprah Winfrey Show as well. I actually went to Chicago, met her. This was like way before social media, so there's no proof of that stuff. But I was there and in Chicago and doing the things of PR. Fast forward, eventually left that, got married, had a daughter, and I had this idea to really giving you my background of where I am now. And I'm always making these pivots and listening to God about where I'm supposed to go. But PR was always been this. So it's nothing that I've ever done differently. I've always wanted to share stories, tell it to the media, have media friends, basic writing skills, always writing. And eventually I worked with my husband. My husband and I got married, and he had a company called Perry Marketing Group. Worked in that company with him. We had our daughter. And when I didn't go back to the Salvation Army because I said, well, I'm gonna give this thing a try and I'm gonna work with my husband. That didn't go so well. The company, uh, the marriage is still good. We've been married almost 30 years, but the company, I won't say because I joined that it went out of business. And about a couple of years after I joined, it went out of business. And a part of it could have been the economy because they did a lot of automotive stuff and you know, the Ford, Chrysler, and GM, all those companies were having a hard time during that time. And those were his largest clients. So he eventually went to go work for Uniworld, which is a large ad agency. He worked on Ford, you know, in between that, he did a whole lot of other things, but eventually he ended up in the ad agency. And I was left there with this child and looking at like, I don't want to go back to the Salvation Army. I really want to spend some time with her. And so I decided at that time, now this is 2000 guys, that I wanted to work from home and have a home-based business. People were like, oh my God, what is wrong with you? Eventually I said, well, I really feel like I want to work with nonprofits. I want to work with Christian authors, speakers, ministries, and churches. So I ended up working with, if you're familiar with anything in Detroit, all the mega churches here in Detroit, Word of Faith, Straight Gate, Greater Grace, all of the mega churches, and did all the marketing and PR and that sort of thing. And eventually a lot of the pastors started writing books, and I helped them write their books and promote their books, and eventually start working with Zondervan, Moody, Harrison House, Harvest House, all of the major publishers, working with the African-American Christian authors and speakers. Well, authors are speakers. So working with the pastors promoting their books. Eventually the book industry changed. A lot of the publishing companies said, okay, we're not publishing their books anymore because there's this thing called Amazon. A lot of the bookstores aren't really selling books. So we're really going to let people publish their books, but they're going to have to be the owners, they're going to promote it themselves. So I took it on myself at that point to really help the pastors and ministries learn how to promote their own books. That's where Ministry Marketing Solutions really became like that household name. You know, I work with TD Jakes, Creflo Dollar, Miles Monroe, all of the quote unquote gospel celebrities in terms of promoting their books and helping them promote the books and book signings when book signings were a thing. And again, every iteration of something changes and you have to be aware of it. And I'm pretty savvy about keeping abreast of what's going on. And social media, I realized was really coming into full swing, started teaching a lot of ministries and Christian authors and helping people publish their own books. Because at this point, 2005 and 6 and 7, people were really taking owning their own media. Okay, so there wasn't really a need so much of traditional ways of going through a traditional publishing house. It wasn't necessarily that you have to go through the traditional media. I saw the media changing. I worked for the Free Press, so I knew at a certain point in time that newspapers were kind of going to be dying, at least the way they were back when I was working for them. And so I just really knew that digital marketing was going to be a thing. Fast forward, Pam Perry PR 2010, PR 2.0. Now we're kind of like at PR 3.0 because I saw some different trends again that were taking place in the PR industry. A lot of the ministries that when I first started working with them, they weren't really interested in marketing, but now obviously all the ministries have marketing teams. I trained a lot of the churches for their marketing as well as getting their marketing teams up and going. And then eventually everybody started publishing books. I mean, when I first started, there were hardly any African-American authors, like really. I've worked with like Valerie Burton and Michelle McKinney Hammond and Dr. Susan Johnson Cook and Bishop Hilliard. And they were a few, but then now everybody's publishing books. And really, I consider books like a calling card. So that's where the authors and the speakers became the thing, right? Because in order for your books to sell, you've got to speak. And before it was like everybody wanted to promote and sell books, but now it's like everybody wants to speak. And speaking is a very viable way to create an income, to build your business, but you do need to know how to sell and promote yourself. Social media has been what I call like a zoo, right? If you've been trying to post Instagram Reels, TikToks, Clubhouse, Jeff, all those things, right? And it could get overwhelming. So how do you make yourself stand out? Again, goes back to the basics, telling the story through the media. Media has changed. Television, radio, and magazines, newspapers, they have changed. Magazines and newspapers, obviously, they're more online. They are online, but still, Google has changed the game. You want to end up on the first page of Google. Television, you've got Roku, you got Amazon Fire, you got all the different ways, right? All the smart TVs. You've got YouTube. People basically can watch. My daughter doesn't even have television. She just has like YouTube and Hulu or something. And then obviously radio is different. It's iHeart and podcasts and things like that. So everything is fragmented, but media is still important because you need to be found. Press releases are still a thing. I'm actually doing one for a client that is due out on Friday for an award that she won, because in order for the media to talk to the media, that's the language that they want to hear it. You can post all day and they probably can't find you on, different social medias, but the language that they want is like send me a press release if you're going to call the media. So before I get too far into it, I want you all to ask me questions because I didn't want this to be a lecture. It's too late in the evening. I want this to be interactive. I work best when you put me on a hot seat or I put you on a hot seat. How about that? And you can ask me your questions about any of the trends or tips or how to amplify or some of your media outlets that you're wondering about, how to connect with them, any of those type of things, because this is my jam. Like this is for real, my jam. And, mastering the media is a real key way to stand out. It is a way to tell your story. It is a way for other people to know about you who may not know about you. You can post on your Facebook page and the same people hear about you all the time. You can actually go into like a newspaper or go into a magazine people who would not have heard of you would have heard of you. Those are some of the things about going into different outlets and things like that. So I am a real straight shooter. I will tell you if something's not right, if it's wrong. I won't tell you something stupid, but you probably could tell from my face if I think it is. But there's some basic things that I think in order for you to get media that you do need to have. Media kit is one. Professional photos are another. Professional email is another. I mean, simple things, I guess it's simple to me because I've been doing this for so long. I'm like an OG in PR. So I really have the way of telling you something that will probably shave off many years of you trying to figure it out. So you have about maybe less than 30 minutes to ask me anything. If you want to unmute, go right ahead. Giselle, I see you there. Jeff, Christy, Nadia, Sheila, ask me questions, or I should probably look at the chat and maybe you put them in there. That's okay too. How about we look at that? It says, do you know anyone? Okay. Company who prints books. Oh my God. Well, if you're in Detroit, Maze Printing, Jackie, is for sure. You know, Maze Printing is, I always try to support my African-American entrepreneurs and business owners, and Maze Printing, I want to say, is probably a third generation, if not for sure, second generation printer. They've done Judge Keith's book. I'm not just Dennis Archer's book. They've done so many different books, but they did a Mayor of Detroit's book. So yeah, definitely want to make sure you do that. Any questions? I've been trying. I have a gift I've been trying to bless you with. I'll private to you afterwards. Oh, thank you, Jeff. Any questions on unmute, or can I unmute you? Or you could just unmute yourself or raise your hand. How about that? Doc Cunningham. Because like I said, I didn't want this to be a lecture, but I want to know what it is that people have questions about PR. One of the things that I have done, Chrissy, is done quick media coverage that makes it like a no-brainer for you to consistently do PR on a regular basis. Hey, Christy.
Hey, how you doing, Pam? And
Good.
good evening, everyone else. I am, of course, I do quite a few different things myself, and I definitely know eventually I am definitely coming your way. How effective do you think like things like simple ebooks are? Because I've been hearing mixed things about ebooks as far as to help as a part of, say, for branding yourself.
It depends. I mean, is the ebook for free, for sale? Is it an opt-in? I mean, definitely one of the first things you could do is having an ebook and having it as your opt-in gift, meaning that
Okay.
people who want to know more about you, you offer
Mhm.
it to them as a gift. So
Okay.
you don't have an email list. That's like the basic that any PR is a way to generate leads, right?
Okay.
The lead generation, but it's a lead generation to your website.
Mm-hmm.
And if your website doesn't convert, meaning that people who aren't on your email list, it's like because you haven't given them a reason to opt in to get on your email list. Just saying,
Okay.
oh, I want to get on your newsletter. No one's opting in for a newsletter.
Okay.
They want to opt in for something that they're going to get for free, especially if you're just putting out. Now, for me, I just have people opt in for my podcast if they want to know when I'm going to be doing my podcast. Get out there and get known. But an ebook, you know, if you're depending on the cycle where you are in your business, the ebook is a good place to start to build your email list. Yep.
And lastly, I'm sorry. And lastly, how effective would it be in using all of social media to promote yourself? And then I've heard some people say that they've been successful without and not even being known. So I guess I'm just wondering what you think would be most effective.
Again, you can't be successful in business without being on social media. But if you want to scale, you probably want to use a lot more tools in order for people to know about you. So it depends on how many clients you want to get, how many people you want to be in front of, how many people want to know about you, and that sort of thing. So you don't want to be on all the social media because you may not be good at all the social media. So give an example, if you're not good at making reels, Giselle is really good at making reels, but maybe somebody who's not good at making reels and make a reels, and that's going to turn off their customer that they really want to attract. So depends. And where's your customer going to be? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Twitter? I will say, all of you all, if you're not on Twitter and you want media, please create a Twitter account and use it. I teach people in my Ready, Set, Go Speak program about how to use Twitter effectively to get the media's attention so that you can follow them, they follow you back, then if they're looking for stories and that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, depending on your business plan, your business goals, your business strategy, how you use PR. And one of the worst things I think you could do, Christy, is look at what other people are doing and then apply it to your business, because their goals could be different from yours. You don't know what's under their hood. So you don't know what it is that they're doing. So give an example of different people. So say, for instance, Dr. Venus Opal Reese. Let in Priscilla. Dr. Venus Opal Reese, when she was doing this, she had a tour going on called the Black Women's Millionaire Movement, right? And basically it ended with a tour that was in Dallas, and it was a marketing event to get people into her mastermind group. So she had a whole different way of how she was marketing this. And she did different little cities and did the book tours. And then each time she did the tour, she would sell people up into a ticket to her marketing event, which was in Dallas. And then at that event, she sold people into her year-long program. And that year-long program, I think, was like $24,000 or $12,000, I can't remember. Whereas Tam, she was just on the cover of April, her marketing strategy is different. She has really consulting. She meets people on Air Meet. Her event was in Vegas. She had all the people who published books with her at her event, and they spoke. All right. Nikichi is a consultant, and she is a DEI consultant, really talks about reparations. A lot of her books, she's an attorney, she's in Washington, D.C. Her website, she's been in Essence, People Magazine, so she's a thought leader. So the way she uses media is different. She will produce a press release probably every other month or so, but she has big news. She's trying to reach people on the Hill, right? You remember Tara Caressa, she was our March issue. So a lot of times if you go and look at the magazines too, I just interviewed Ashley today on Amazon Live and Black Speakers Network. If you look at each person's media blueprint of how they're using, meaning like Google their name, what comes up on page one, you can kind of see a little bit of what they're trying to do in terms of their strategy. Tara Caressa is really, really big on Twitter. Every time she tweets, she's probably got like thousands of people retweeting her things, right? And she's on video a lot. That's her thing. She's very photogenic. She's good on broadcast, and her videos just hit. Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, he's been in all the older media, but now he's trying to be more relevant. So you'll see him a lot on Instagram and on LinkedIn and that sort of thing. He's doing little short videos and that sort of thing. So Vicki Johnson has a podcast. So everybody has different media outlets that are more comfortable for them. You have to find the one that fits for you, fits for your client, and fits for your business strategy. PR is just one small part of it. It is not intended to be your sales. It's not intended to be what will get you booked for speaking, even though it adds to it. The more people know about you, the more comfortable they're going to feel about having you speak. I always say media begets media. Every time you have a media hit, you need to leverage it, and that gets you other media outlets. The media outlet then could get you a speaking gig, and then that speaking gig, when you speak there, gets you other speaking gigs. So it is a continuum. The things with Sean Fair, looking at the way he uses press releases, is basically he promotes people who are in his programs. one of the most successful people that Rodney Burris, he was on the cover of one of my issues here. Here is Rodney. So Rodney was not a believer in media at all. He was just running around and relationship building, and you can not have media and just talk to people one-on-one. I'm not saying you don't talk to people, but it's a certain point in time where you've got to scale, right? And people need to know who you are, because you can't be everywhere, just like books. Books go where you can't go. You can tell your message to everybody you meet, but then a book just makes it so easy, right? So eventually Rodney, he was in my branding accelerator program. I said, Rodney, I need you to do more media. So he eventually, we narrowed it down to where his niche was. And I believe he was in the the Afro, not the Washington Forum. He was in the Afro, which is the top African-American newspaper in the country. It's in the DC area, DC, Baltimore area. And he was on the front page of that newspaper. The reporter loved him, wrote a great story, great headline, glowing story, positioned him as a leader, a thought leader. And now he has like a $300,000 contract with doing leadership training with, I believe it's a school district, because the credibility of what the media did for him. But at a certain point in time, he's just running around posting on social media, and, nothing wrong with that. But it was just like that his clients weren't there. The bigger contracts weren't looking at that, like your Instagram. They're looking at what digital footprint do you have in the media. So when you Google him, you'll see the story and the reporter who vetted the story, who wrote the story on him. So anyway, a long thing to say is that depending on what your goals are, I'll tell you which ones to use. Quick media coverage is a way to tell your story if you're just starting out, because you need to be able to have someone, depending on if it's Real Estate Today, which Dexter has been, or CEO Weekly, which was Egypt Sharaj, which she was in, or New York Weekly, which Dr. Geneva is going to be in. So depending on that, and then the reporter writes the story on you, and then you can share that in your media kit, or just share the story to a prospective client, right? Because then it's like, okay, then you're telling your story. And people say, well, I could just give them my website. Yeah, but you wrote the website. So it's like, of course, you're going to say great things about yourself. So you want the media to say things about you. I can say great things about me, but it's better when other people say things about you. That's really like the whole point of why we use PRs, third party, endorsements. Any other questions? I see everybody is muted. So maybe I have to unmute you, or just raise your hand and I can unmute you there as well. Hey, Giselle. Hey there. So you're coming in. I see your audio kind of coming in. Let me unmute. Okay, there you go.
Hey, Miss Pammy.
Hey, how are you? Hey, Miss Fox.
I'm excited. I most love the part when you said you might think, no, I think it's stupid by my face, because you do not have a poker face.
I'd be like, really? It's like, I don't know. I think sometimes when you get up in age and you're north of 60, you do not hold back on what you say and what you think. It's like, you know what? It's not, no, but it really does. It shuts off a lot of times where I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything. I just really want people to get to the best.
It's the Pam Perry method, and I'm here for it.
This is the quick part. Yeah.
So I'm excited. I am on day 8. I spoke at Sade's event in Atlanta, and all weekend long, people were asking me, Giselle, so when's your event? As if the only answer could be the date. Not that Giselle had no plans, intentions, or designs on hosting an event.
Right.
So
right.
Here we are, 9 days in of me creating an event. So my event will be targeting women 45 to 65 who retirement is on the horizon, but they also know that when they retire, they're not going to sit down.
Yeah.
And so to start to get them to understand that now is the time to build the brand they desire for retirement.
I love that. I love that. Oh my God. Because we got this lady here,
Yes.
she's like in the, well, you said 45 to 60, she's 73. So
You know what? Every time, well, for the 8 days that I've been talking about this, my demographic keeps getting stretched because I was at 55, got on the call on day 2 with
mm-mm.
a client who says, no, Giselle, I'm
Just-
in that demographic because my generation doesn't want to work to our 60s. We want to retire in our 50s. So you need to bump that down to 45. And then I spoke to someone who's also in the PR space to see how I could leverage her list. And she said, well, if you bump it up to 65, you'd be including me because I'm 61. So I need to just say 45 and up.
yeah, 45 and up. 45 and up.
The
I
market
would say the
says
baby,
that's too broad. But
or you could even just say Gen Xers and baby boomers.
there it is.
And then you know how they identify themselves. So I'm a baby boomer. I'm at the end of the baby boom, but I'm a baby boomer. They're baby boomers.
And
but
I'm
you
Gen
really-
X.
Yeah, and you're Gen X. So it just depends, but I know for a fact that these two ladies, when they came to me, a lot of people have this whole thing about technology, and I don't know if I could do all this, but you walk people through of what they do have, not what they don't have. And so both of these ladies had a wealth of talent and knowledge and accolades and connections. And I mean, they were just rich with other things. Yeah, they maybe didn't know how to work, TikTok and Reels and all that, but they had other things that they knew how to do. So books was really easy for them because the content just oozes out of them. Podcasts were really easy for them. Writing stories about them was really easy. I mean, so yeah, I could see how someone that age would feel intimidated about the social media landscape today, especially with it changing so rapidly now, that someone who is a Gen Xer or a baby boomer would want someone to where do I begin? Where do I
Right.
don't want to retire. I want to
They have
retire.
this idea that they think the myth that they have in their head is that because they're not in business now, they don't have a brand. So that's like the first myth I have to bust. It's like, no, you absolutely have a brand. It has nothing to do with you having a business. And then the second thing is that you need to start building up a digital footprint, because when you go to transition into being a consultant or being an entrepreneur, the first thing people are going to do is Google you. And so you've got to start your authority building now as a subject matter expert. So I've identified a local cable access station, a Comcast station, to be the event site.
Oh, good.
And in my offer, I will interview them on my show, right?
Yes, yes.
And they've got 2 LED walls, so I'll be able to easily brand the show. I want to launch my podcast before that time too, so that they would also be on the podcast. So my question for you, Pam Jam Session, is input from you on how I can create stories that would be PRable to generate interest in this event as I start to promote it.
So one of the main things, I love this, is really look at that whole demo about why you want to do it for them. So go back to the why. And again, some of the people you said they don't want to, they've been working for a long time. They've got a lot of subject matter expertise, but they don't know how to brand themselves. So that whole piece about that, of that particular age group of women, and why are they afraid? What is it that they need? And then really just dig into those type of stories. So say, for instance, with Dr. Geneva and Nikichi, both of them, they had the information, and they were silently, how do I say it? They were known in their circles, but they weren't known outside of that. So why is it important for them to be known outside of that? Now they're consulting, but they only became like consultants when they had a digital footprint. So if you Google her name now, she's got a podcast, she's got a video, this and that. Before, it was just like only the people in her circle knew her, and that wasn't enough. So now she's speaking and she's going nationwide and doing that sort of thing. So you want to find a story about why that person is doing that. It could be you. It could be your story. You are you're your demo, right? You're a Gen Xer. You had a photography business that was traditional, had to make a pivot, had to do the digital footprint, had to learn from millennials, so to speak, about how to really do that whole pivot. And then now you're teaching other women who are your age and above how to really do that same thing. So if you don't have a client that you've done it for, then use yourself as an example. And then that's the story.
And then who do I pitch the story to?
Where's your event?
Oakland.
So within that whole Oakland, Bay, San Francisco, you know, depending, I mean, if you want people to fly, Vegas, you know, that whole area, depending on where you want people to come. So then you're pitching like the local media in that area. And then also too, you want to do press releases out. In Quick Media Coverage, we have the California Gazette is one where Nicole was in that as well. The California Observer. There are just so many different outlets that are locally in your area. I think the Wave newspapers is out there, and it's another large African-American newspaper, but you want to at least be a big fish in a small pond first, and then take it out to other areas. You know,
Okay, so start with the Black media. Got it.
yeah, I always say that. I always say that. And with any media, building relationships is key. So sometimes you don't just jump on people and just say, oh, I got a story, but just kind of like basically warm up to them, see what kind of things they're doing, see what kind of things you can offer them, reshare, retweet, you know, see what kind of things that they've been up to, see what kind of reporter is writing on the things that you write about, you know, get in where you could fit in, just jump in, not just like, oh, I got a story, but just see where it is that they are. So that's why a lot of times people pay publicists because they have the relationships, but you've got to start developing the relationships if you want to go into the media. Vegas is a good area too. It's not a large market like LA. So you could probably get into some television stations in that area as well, because it's inexpensive to actually get on like a Fox station or something like that, to take a plane and be on there. And then once you have that video, then you leverage it. You start leveraging it. But I would say, you know, starting with a press release first, taking that press release, because that's the language the media wants to hear, and then sending it out to the media. That's what Quick Media Coverage is. It gives you something to share to the media so that they can say, okay, I want to write a story about you. I want to have you on, whatever. That's you got to start somewhere. So start with telling the story in their language. Sometimes the media, the Black press, will pick up a press release verbatim. They'll vet it and maybe they'll change it a little bit, but it'll say like staff of the Wave newspapers, but you know that was really a press release sent to them. So
Got some homework to do. Thank you, Pammy.
yes. I always tell people, especially that those that are speakers, coaches, consultants, to have a signature event at least once a year. Have your own signature event as your marketing event. Have a book, have a signature event, obviously do press releases on a regular basis, speak on stages, other people's stages, you know, making sure that you're constantly that, you know, promotion of yourself is like marketing yourself. And eventually you'll see that people will be attracted to you because they are remembering you. And all the while, please continue to send emails as well. People think, oh, email is dead. You know, I've got Instagram, I've got Facebook. Listen, don't let Instagram go down. Don't let your Facebook be deleted or hacked or TikTok go away. And all of your contacts are in those outlets. You want to build your own databases. So I'm always going to say that over and over again. But Quick Media Coverage is a way for you continually, instead of trying to figure all this out, to get it quick. You know, basically you click a button, you pick what outlets you want to go in, and then basically I then share your story to the outlet based on my networks, and then they write the story and then you send it out. It's very simple. And that's one of the things that I have found that has changed with media today, is that people want more done for you, and they need to have their digital footprint quickly, because, you know, it does take a while. If you want to get into, say, a traditional magazine, even with us, we're like 1 month out. We're working on our June issue. Our May issue is out. So now we're working on June, but in a few weeks, next week we'll be closing. We're working on July. So, you know, the online space is open. It's easy to get media today, but it's so many more options, and you've got to know what you want to target.
I
And
happen to know someone that wants to secure June 24th from you.
oh, okay. Yes, yeah. All right, all right. So that will be June 24th is gonna be your month.
Not mine, it's someone
Oh,
else.
oh, someone else. Okay, all right, all right. Yeah. all
You
right.
know her.
Okay, yeah,
Told her, you better say something before it's gone.
yeah. We only do one once a month. We don't do digital covers and that kind of thing. We do.
I know, that's why she needs to let you know, but
Yeah,
maybe I'll be the one officially letting you know.
yeah, yeah. But the thing of it is that when you are doing media coverage, it's really telling your story. I want to say, Giselle, that women who are 45 and up, they tend to feel like because they've done so much that they've got to tell everybody that they've done so much. And then they dilute it down and they're not an expert in anything. So then they're talking everything to everybody and they're not selling. So one of the things is hard when someone has like 40 years experience. It's like, well, what are you going to be known for? And to drill 40 years of experience down to one thing is hard. But you realize that people who are on CNN or in magazines like, oh, or whatever, they're subject matter experts. Yeah, they know other stuff, but they want to be known for one thing. So please, whatever you do, have these ladies understand and drill down to one thing that they're good at and be known for that and build out from there. But just try it for a period of time till they're a subject matter expert, SME in one area, then they can go out. Because I find that a lot of times they're just all over the place. And then they burn themselves out because they're trying to be
And
everything and everybody.
my follow-up question is, as soon as I was just calling about to pay my registration fee to be a vendor at the Links Far Western Conference, any ideas on what should be a good lead magnet in my booth? Because I absolutely want those women on my email list.
With the links, it's going to be something that it's almost like what you do is that consult about what is the how to show up, I guess you would say, online, what your photos should look like, and how to posing and all that kind of, the stuff that you say off the top of your head that a lot of times the ladies don't know, like what is the best way to show up online. I forgot what it was. You did it for on my brand accelerator. What was that? What was that we called it?
Camera ready in a flash.
There you go. Camera ready in a flash. That's it. That's what the links want to know.
So my lead magnet should be inviting them to the training?
Yes, yes. On a QR code, just have them scan it and then they sign up and they're basically, it could be an automated webinar.
Okay, because I was thinking like putting together some sort of Stuck on Phonics authority, personal branding success kit, like having several things in there, but
Sell them that once they
making
come.
that face, that's a dumb idea face.
No, that's something you could sell them, but what actually have them come and experience the camera ready in a flash, right? Have a QR code at your table, scan it, and just say, hey, this is for my webinar on how to be camera ready in a flash.
Okay.
And everybody would want that because then you're explaining to them how to be camera ready, what's the right pose. I mean, it is a great webinar. You've gone through it enough where some people don't know what they don't know. So you definitely want them to do that. Then at the end of that webinar, then you can give them that success toolkit or whatever. You can sell them that.
Okay.
But they need to know why they need to be camera ready in a flash.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't do anything new. You did enough. You got that thing is good. Don't do anything new. It's and the whole thing about I'm gonna start a podcast before, DTM. Don't be doing too much.
But I need the podcast, and I even have the URL already. So if this is the catalyst to get me out the gate, I need to do it because I really want to use my podcast to spotlight my clients. So
You're consistent. The average person that starts a podcast only does about 6 shows.
Nah, I ain't going out like that, Pam.
Okay, all right. I'm just saying that I'm telling you, people who start a podcast only do about 6 shows, and it's like, what happened to the rest of them? Then they get burned out. It's like it was too much. It sounds good, but make sure it's consistent. I'm on episode like 120. You know, every once in a while I'll see somebody say, "Oh, I'm gonna take a break for the summer," whatever. But the whole point of a podcast is it's weekly. It drops every week. So, you know, just being consistent with that is really key, and having a whole strategy for the podcast, because don't just do a podcast just to be doing a podcast. It can make money for you, or it can actually build your business. So, you know, we could talk offline about a whole podcast strategy.
Yes, please, and thank you.
Yes. So, okay, I see Tamika. Yeah, here she is. I'm gonna unmute you over there. Yes. Hey, Tamika.
Hello,
Hey there.
hello. So yeah, I'm really excited about being here, and I have spoken to you before about doing quick media coverage, so I'm gonna make sure to do that. Just get my website and all that together. So
Yeah.
I'll be reaching out soon. But my question is,
Because I
so
want to say this really quick, Tamika, because all the media coverage does is drive traffic back to you. And your stuff has to be ready, because what happens sometimes if your stuff isn't ready, people say, well, the PR didn't work. It's like the PR worked, but it's just your website was whack. So make sure that that part is done. Yes.
yeah, that's the reason why I haven't reached out yet, because I'm making sure it's revamped and
Good.
has everything I want. And I did get the email with my website as well, to make it a professional email like you suggested. So I've been
That's
listening.
key. Let me tell you, the media look at that, because if they don't, let me see, put you on mute for a second.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. Because the media will look at that and they will think like, oh, okay, well, they don't have a real email, then they must not be really a professional. So, you know, you want to have the media always saying yes and not saying no. Okay. And so they have so many pictures coming at them all the time. And so they go by process of elimination. Well, they don't have this, they don't have this, they don't have this, and they don't have that. And then by the time you think you have a story, they've already said no to you because you don't have certain things in order. So that's it. Okay, I'm gonna unmute you again. I heard some background noise. Okay.
yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yes. So my question is, I'm a disability justice activist, so I speak on, disability, especially when it comes to race, gender and disability. And I'm also a filmmaker. And so my question is to you, once I do the quick media coverage, as far as the future, how do I determine what is newsworthy and what isn't? Because I do, speaking and different things. So just for
Okay.
tips in the future.
So one of the best tips that I can say, what is newsworthy, and this is for everybody, is have your nose in the news. It's telling you every single day what it is they're looking for. And one of the main things, and from Ready, Set, Go, Speak, make a list of the top 10 media outlets that you want to be featured in and hawk them and see what kind of stories that they are writing about, because they're telling you every single day. And if you don't know what's going on in the news, so say for instance, I don't know your area. I don't know your area of expertise of the industry, but there's some trends in your industry, and you can even just kind of go on and say, well, what are the trends in the industry now? What are people talking about? And be that person for them. What's different that you can say, right? It's like, oh, okay, well, I need to know what is the angle that I can do differently based on what's going on in the industry in terms of disabilities and that sort of thing. Or, one of the main things that I always tell people, I says, what's interesting that you think people would want to hear, that they want to hear or they want to read about, what is trending by being in the news, like looking at the news, whether you're reading AARP or everybody has an association, There's association for everybody, right? There's like association for people who like glitter, right? It's it probably is women who like to be extra, that's like an association. It could be the links, Giselle, I don't know. But there's an association probably for people with disabilities. So what is it that their magazines are writing about? And how can you make that difference? So what's newsworthy is not always what we think is news, but what's going on. And that's like the basics when in journalism, one of the main things of that a journalist would hate to do is just like look at a blank page, like, oh my God. No, they're always looking for, and they're always researching, they're always talking to different people because they want to hear the voices, what's going on, what's important. So that's what I would say is try to find out what's going on in your industry. You're a thought leader, lead with the thoughts. Lead with your thoughts, lead with your ideas, lead with your angles, lead with something that that is a hook that based on what's going on. And what I give you a good example of something that I saw the other day. This was brilliant. So everybody knows that Jamie Foxx had a stroke, right? So Jamie Foxx had a stroke and he's doing better. But there was a gentleman on YouTube and it said Jamie Foxx update, such and such heart, whatever. And I'm like, what? And so I clicked on it, clickbait. But anyway, I clicked on it and it was a real doctor who had he was a cardiologist. And he went on and talked about Jamie Foxx. He's doing recovery. But then he went on and said, these are the 3 tips that you need to know about having a stroke, what you can do to avoid it. He went on and gave a presentation of 20 minutes. Do you know, I watched the entire thing. He says, yeah, whenever celebrities have certain diseases or things like that, we all want to know about it. But as a doctor, let me tell you, but you know what? His numbers went up because now he was a Black cardiologist telling people about what it is that they need to know about stroke, how to define it and what you need to avoid it. I thought that was just brilliant. Now that's what we call, like, you can call it, piggybacking or newsjacking or whatever you want to call it. The old days we called it piggybacking, but you can call it newsjacking, like what's trending and then how you can attach to that. That was like brilliant. I just thought that was so cool. 20 minutes had me watching it. I was like, okay. I watched it from the standpoint that I really needed to know, but it found out information that I didn't know, but it caught my attention based on what was going on in the news with Jamie Foxx. So, and you wouldn't know about it unless you were watching the news. Some people didn't even know he had a stroke. So, but I watch the news. I watch news on everything. I'm on Twitter a lot too, so I'll find that.
Hey, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So it is 9:01. If there are no more questions going once, twice, 3 times, Alexa, play Jam by Michael Jackson.
Jam by Michael Jackson on Amazon Music.
Okay. Any more questions going once, twice, 3 times? Okay.
Pam?
Okay. Yeah.
I apologize. I'm a little with the technology, a little challenged.
Okay.
I'd like to, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. I'd like to get your reaction to what I'm about to do. I'm working on a 5 book novel series. Book 1 is finished. I put up a landing page and I'm about to put on to add a lead magnet. And my lead magnet are the first 5 chapters of book 1. Is that excessive? Would it make more sense to use to offer 3 or 2 chapters?
Well, first of all, what's the book about?
It's a fictional drama. It's Christian related. But it's urban.
So I probably
urban drama with Christian themes.
Fiction is a little different. I will say this, that I do mostly nonfiction, but I've done some fiction.
Okay.
I would say with fiction is a little bit different from the standpoint, giving all 5 at one time is not probably the best. I probably would drip the 5 because it's like you're watching a movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to not give all 5 at one time. So maybe drip the 5 chapters over a week, and we'll know that way. Because if I read all 5, so you know, truthfully, if I read all 5, it's like, okay. But if you drip all 5, and then by then it's by the 5th chapter, it's like, okay, now the book is out. Now buy it.
Okay.
It's kind of
Okay.
like the way we would watch a movie, right? It's like, oh yeah, kind of like Netflix. They have your episode 1, episode 2, episode 3,
Right.
you know. Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that. That's great. I thank you for that. I'm going to publish June 1st on Amazon and publish wide, and I'm going to send the digital and the print to draft to digital and have them hit the other publishing platforms for me.
Okay.
Uh,
Good.
is that
One of the people that I know is really good at fiction, definitely is not Christian fiction, it's urban fiction, kind of erotica, but she's really good at sales and marketing. It's Sylvia Hubbard. If you've not followed Sylvia Hubbard,
okay.
yeah, follow her. She is excellent. She does novellas, and she sells probably about 10,000 copies. Again, the genre is different. 10,000 downloads a month
Wow.
with her things. Yes, Sylvia Hubbard. She's from Detroit. But again, like I said, it's urban fiction. It's a different genre. Okay. I don't personally read. I don't read what's social erotica. I don't, but people who read it, I guess they must really reading it. So, but yeah, she has been doing it for a long time, and she has really figured out a way to do fiction. And
Okay.
you know, so you want to follow her. She's from Detroit, but Sylvia Hubbard, I think her organization is called Motown Writers.
Okay. And actually, years ago, I heard her name and followed her for a while. Then I moved west and I sort of built another following. But yeah, she's got a great name out there.
Yeah, she's been doing it for a while. She's been consistent, so she is not wavered at all. And people too, I want to tell everyone here that people who are consistent, follow them. If they've been doing this for a while, it's the reason why. I mean, there's always going to be new people coming up and that sort of thing, but people who are tried and true, who've been doing it for a while, that's why, you know.
Okay.
And even though there are different things that are different tactics that we use, some of the basic things are always the same. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Pam. I appreciate that.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I want to make sure that everybody goes to Quick Media Coverage. Go to PamPerryPR.com. You can see right there on my little name tag. If you want to do Quick Media Coverage, guaranteed done for you. Just, you know, tell us your story. We tell the world. That's basically, that's it. I just wanted to just come on and say that to everybody. So thank you guys. I will talk to you later. All righty. Bye-bye.